Hello and welcome to this edition of the Sunshine Coast Council's Living Smart program. I'm Gretchen Keelty and today I'm going to show you how to make a cutlery keeper. A lot of offices have taken away the cutlery in the communal lunchrooms, so a lot of people are going to need to take their own cutlery. One of the most annoying things that can happen is if someone steals all the spoons, you're left trying to eat your soup with a fork. So this doesn't happen to you. You can be prepared and come along with your own cutlery, like this one that I prepared this morning. So you can see here, I've got my cake fork, teaspoon, soup spoon, fork, knife, and dessert spoon. Now, it gets all wrapped up once it's washed, nice and tidy. An alternative set that we're going to make now is this set with some chopsticks, a napkin, spoon, fork, knife, and teaspoon. What you'll need is some fabric, the right width. The way that I've set this up, so obviously you need to measure the width, and when this is finished, this will be the right length to tuck them all in as if they're in a little bed with a blankie pulled up. I'm using some remnants that I had in the cupboard, but I'm going to show you some other fabrics that you might look at using. Because they're a bit spiky, these things, you may want to use some old fabric that you might have from a tracksuit. You could even cut up an old sloppy Joe. I've got all sorts of scraps from making different things. This would be rather glamorous, probably a little bit too slippery to keep them secure. I would stick with more cotton-based fabrics. Corduroy would also be quite nice. So as you saw before, we look at the width and we allow a margin because they get their little, oh, I'm going to put, where do I want my chopsticks? Probably here. So we allow enough room to have the side seam, and then we'll be sewing up there to keep them all nice and tidy. Now the trick is, the first layer is this little handle keeping part. I like to think of it as the blankie. So that goes down first, and then we fold over this second layer, which will be the back. You may want to pin it in place to keep it steady while you're sewing. And because we've kept the bottom open, we can sew all the way down each side seam and then open it out. Okay. I'm sewing zigzag to stop fraying. You may wish to do zigzag and straight stitch, but today I'm just doing zigzag. I also folded over the blankie edge and zigzagged along there. Now that's done, we'll just re-measure where we want all of our utensils to sit. So I'll lay everything out and allow, so you can see they sit just nicely there. So I've put the cutlery back on top so I can measure where I need to put the little guidelines that will keep my cutlery in place. So you can see here, so put each one, so I'm sewing in the correct spot. The last point, the last seam that I put here is where I'm going to attach the ribbon. So I've cut a piece that is long enough to wrap around and tie in a bow, but I'm also going to put a little reminder here, a second pin, so that when I get to this one I don't forget. Sometimes I get carried away sewing and then that's not good. So I've put my little reminder there, and I'll put a little pin for halfway so I know roughly where. For these lines I'm going to use straight stitch, so it's just running up to keep the cutlery in place. Now I'm up to the spot where I want to attach my tie. If you don't have ribbon, you can actually make yourself a really great tie out of the same fabric. You just sew a little tube and then insert a safety pin, work it down, and you've made yourself a fantastic string. So you don't need ribbon. Just try and keep everything in its place. Might pin it, that'll fix it. There we go. I didn't put the ribbon on earlier because I didn't want to accidentally sew it under my other lines. That wouldn't be very fun, and that would involve a lot of unpicking or a second ribbon. Now I'll trim off the tails. Now, how quick and easy was that? Believe it or not, we're done. Now, all that remains is to put our cutlery away. So I've got my napkin, the chopsticks. If you wanted to just measure with a ruler and put little marks on your fabric, that's probably quite an easy way of marking where to sew. I'm going to roll from this side. There we go. Ta-da! Thank you for joining me for this workshop. Big thank you to the Sunshine Coast Council for letting me be a part of their Living Smart program. And I hope you all enjoy your lunch. Bye.